I thought of another couple who worshiped with us only for a short time in Milwaukee after they moved from the Deep South. Sadly, I cannot even remember their names. I do remember several sacred conversations I had with the wife as she struggled with the very subtle forms of racism she encountered in the North. I thought it would be better here, she said, but it's worse. Back home, racism was overt and in your face, and you knew what to expect. Here, you never know where or how you're going to meet it. Some people probably don't even know that the things they say hurt so deeply. As we talked, I said to her, I know that there are things that I might say that I don't even realize carry some racist baggage. I am trying to recover from the racism that is part of me because I have been raised in a racist environment. If I say or do something that offends you, please tell me. Otherwise, I will never know, and I will never have the opportunity to grow. During the short time she was with us, she did just that. She also taught me that one of her struggles was against her own internalized oppression, the ways in which she had picked up attitudes and beliefs that made her feel less than her sisters and brothers who happened to be white. These were indeed sacred conversations, conversations that held the possibility of change, transformation, healing, and growth. Then I thought of the healing racism workshop I attended while I was serving the congregation in Chicago Heights. I thought of the many conversations in which we were invited, all of us, to tell our stories and listen to the stories of those whose skin had a different hue and whose ancestors came from many different lands. I had the opportunity to see face to face some of the history of the racial divisions that permeates our country, and to hear about the painful experiences of exclusion and violence that many of my sisters and brothers have to face every day. Sometimes what I saw and heard was so painful that all I could do was cry. But they were healing tears. Tears that were born of experiences that helped me understand and grow. They were indeed sacred conversations. Conversations that held the possibility of change, transformation, healing, and growth. I thought also of more recent conversations I have had as part of a new organization here in Plainfield called the Plainfield Alliance Nurturing Diversity Awareness, PANDA for short. I thought of the things I have learned about the struggles people from other cultural backgrounds have as they try to find their place in our community. I have learned and I have grown as we have worked together to affirm the gifts we have to offer one another because of our differences. They have been and will be sacred conversations. Conversations that hold the possibility of change, transformation, healing, and growth. My hope is that we will find many opportunities, both formally as a community of faith and informally, for such sacred conversations. Times when we dare to talk about race in a climate where we listen deeply, respecting and honoring each other's stories, and allowing God's healing love to embrace us as we do. Such conversations, of course, need to happen in many areas. We need to hear the stories of of those who are differently abled. We need to hear the stories of those who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. We need to hear the stories of those who struggle with mental and emotional illnesses or diseases such as alcoholism, and many, many more. If we begin to create a climate in which such sacred conversations are the norm, I believe that each and every one of us will come to know God's healing love in ways that are beyond anything we can hope for or imagine. For as we dare to open the whole of who we are to one another, loving and respecting all that we hear, we will discover, we will experience what it is like to be known totally and loved completely. But such sacred conversations are only possible if we consistently enter into them in the sacred conversation that shapes and defines who we are. The conversation with the still speaking God that we call prayer. So as we close, I invite you to enter into that conversation. There will be times when I will speak and times when you are invited into silence. During that time of silence, I invite you to breathe deeply, sharing what's on your heart, but also listening for God's still speaking voice in the depths of your own soul. Let us pray. Loving God, as we seek to live in the sacred conversation with you and with one another, we pause to examine our hearts and to acknowledge the ways in which the sin of racial hatred and prejudice distorts your plan for our human lives. In silence, we acknowledge the ways in which we have experienced the alienation caused by hatred and prejudice, and allow your healing light to touch and restore us in those broken places. God of beauty and grace, you created us in your likeness, diverse and beautiful. And we believe that in every person, every race, your image is found. Yet all too often, we fail to recognize your image in all you have created. Forgive us and give us new eyes to see, new ears to hear, and new hearts to love. When we turn our hearts to you, O God, we discover that it is Christ in us who has prompted our turning, and it is the Spirit alive among us who will empower our loving. Thanks be to God. Amen.